Now at 9, a job fair in Knoll, Missouri aims to help laid-off Tyson workers. Plus, rural counties in southeast Kansas face an attorney shortage that's only getting worse. And Freeman Health System honors its nurses with a gala.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Tanya Bach. Citizens in McDonald County are getting the chance to speak with potential employers after Tyson announced its planned closure. KOAM's Anthony Saviello gives us a look.
With the Tyson chicken plant in Knoll set to close its doors in just under a month, it's crunch time for those who are seeking to find employment. Knoll Elementary played host Thursday to many local businesses seeking to help Tyson workers still on the hunt.
Manufacturing is manufacturing. It doesn't matter if you're trying to process chickens to making the label. I mean, a lot of the same processors are in place, so it should be a very easy transition to get into our company.
James and the team at Iconex were just one of the many businesses that are still showing up to help support this community and the people who live here. According to McDonald County Chamber President John Newby, the future of the plant is still up in the air, but there is still hope.
My gut tells me, though, that the plant will probably sell sooner rather than later. But I do believe personally that this is a blessing in disguise for not just Knoll, but for the county.
And for McDonald County Superintendent Eric Finley, the hope is that jobs continue to stay local, especially as enrollment continues to rise in area schools.
We're up about 150 kids district-wide, and best case scenario is we maintain that our students stay here, our families stay here, they find jobs to where they can stay here.
Reporting in Knoll, Missouri, Anthony Saviello, KOAM News.
The Knoll Tyson plant is set to close on October 20th. Well, Chief Meteorologist Doug Hetty joins us with our first look at weather.
Well, it definitely turned out to be another hot one for us today. Very consistent temperatures all week long. 88 was our high. We started at 63, average high 71. Look at the record, 104 set back in 1953. We've had clear skies all day long. We still have clear skies, pretty much clear skies across the entire Central Plains. So as we go through the night here shortly at 11:72, 68 by 7 a.m. Our overnight low is going to be around 67. Plenty of sunshine through the morning, warming to near 80 by 10 a.m. So the warm / hot weather sticks around through the weekend. We're going to be dry the next several days. We do have changes late next week. Our new pattern begins. This is going to bring in cooler weather, also chances for rain. We're going to be talking about that here in just a little bit.
All right, thanks, Doug. The state of Kansas is battling a shortage of attorneys, particularly in rural counties. Now, last December, the Kansas Supreme Court created a special committee to examine unmet legal needs related to the shrinking number of lawyers throughout the state. Now, in part 1 of my special report, I take a closer look at the problems the attorney shortage is creating in southeast Kansas.
Monday, I was in a felony docket with Judge Kreitz here in Allen County, a Zoom docket with Judge Alquist in Neosho County on domestic cases. I had cases in Bourbon County at 1:30, child needed care case in Wilson County, which is Fredonia, at 2:30.
If you said Jacob Manbeck is a busy man, you wouldn't be wrong. He runs a general practice law firm in Iola, Kansas. He also takes on a number of court-appointed cases that keep him on the move in at least 8 different counties in southeast Kansas.
There's not an extremely high caseload. There's just a shortage of attorneys.
Missouri touts 4 attorneys for every 1,000 residents in the state. Compare that to Oklahoma at 3.4. But in Kansas, there are only 2.7 active lawyers for every 1,000 people. And 80% of the Sunflower State's attorneys live in 6 counties.
When you talk to those recruiters, they'll tell you that they have people that have graduated and they want to live in Wichita, they want to live in the Kansas City area, maybe the Topeka, the Lawrence area. They don't want to come to rural Kansas.
Jerry Hathaway is the Allen County District Attorney. He and Manbeck are 2 of the 12 total attorneys who call Allen County home. With fewer lawyers like them in rural counties, that attorney-to-resident ratio expands.
In the 31st Judicial District, and that includes Allen County, there's 1 attorney for every 772 residents. But in the district that includes Bourbon, Lynn, and Miami counties, there's one lawyer for every 1,038 people.
As the prosecutor, Hathaway says he sees the shortage most on the defendant's side of the courtroom.
The majority of the time they spend with their client is before, a docket in court. And so they're rushing around, meeting with their clients, doing the docket in court, and then in the afternoon they've got to be down in Parsons or they've got to be in Fort Scott or something, and they have to do it all over again.
They've had to go up to the Kansas City metro area or different areas of the state to find an attorney to represent one of our local defendants.
Like many counties in southeast Kansas, Cherokee County Sheriff David Grove says the attorney shortage trickles down to his jail too, with longer stays for inmates between court proceedings.
Somebody that's arrested today probably isn't going to get through the process within 2 years.
And a bigger stack of cases for rural attorneys.
I think that here lately, within the last few years, it seems that the cases maybe haven't increased in volume, but they've increased in intensity, which requires a lot more work.
But for attorneys like Manbeck, they'll continue to weather the shortage storm.
I am from Humboldt. My wife is from Iola. Ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to come back and practice in my hometown.
Just to keep that sense of small town pride alive.
Well, coming up a little later in the show, we meet a Pittsburgh attorney who is serving on the Kansas Rural Justice Initiative Committee. We also look at possible solutions the committee is pursuing to help curb the Kansas attorney shortage. Well, Freeman Health System tonight took some time to recognize all the hard work its nurses do every day. The 8th annual Nursing Gala is a chance for the nurses to have some fun while being honored. It also raises money for the Freeman Nursing Education Fund, which helps nurses advance their education.
Nurses are really the heart of the health system. They come into contact with patients really more than any other staff member, and they are there for them to hold their hand, to assist them, to comfort them, to encourage them. They make such a profound difference in the patient experience. We're very grateful for them, so tonight is our opportunity to say thank you.
The theme of this year's gala was A Night Among the Stars. The Columbus, Kansas Chamber of Commerce today mixed business and health. They hosted a business expo and health fair. The attendees could check out local businesses with booths set up, as well as get health checks like a wellness test and blood pressure check.
I really hope that they actually realize and remember what they have in their own hometown and to be able to support our businesses here.
The expo was hosted at the State Theater Event Center. Coming up, what a new study shows about how the pandemic impacted routine cancer screenings. Well, doctors say they're facing a backlog as patients catch up on cancer screenings. The researchers note almost 10 million people missed screenings during the pandemic. The report says that reduced diagnoses for 6 major cancers. And now doctors are urging people to catch up on routine appointments and screenings. But the researchers warn it might take longer to get cancer surgery if it is needed. Decriminalizing drug possession has not led to a rise in overdose deaths. Researchers with the NYU Grossman School of Medicine looked at the results of new laws enacted in Oregon and Washington in 2021. They found even as drug arrests dropped, overdose deaths did not rise. Another study by the same team found decriminalizing drug possession did not lead to a rise in violent crime. And those fatty foods we snack on could be affecting your memory. An Ohio State University study on mice found that a high-fat diet led to an inflammatory response in the brain, which contributed to memory loss. They also found highly processed ingredients had a similar effect on memory. Well, Doug is next with a complete look at the forecast. And later, the Pitt State Gorillas look to keep their undefeated season alive as they prepare for a Week 5 matchup against Northeastern State.
Well, it turned out to be another warm/hot day for us today. We were mid to upper 80s for highs yesterday and again today. We went into the upper 80s, so very consistent the past few days. Yesterday 86, we dropped down into the mid 60s and then right back up into the upper 80s for highs for us today. This is what we're going to see tomorrow. This is what we're going to see into the weekend. We don't really have any big changes until about the middle of next week. All right, for you tonight, clear skies. We drop back to 67. Temperatures, you can see lower 70s by 11, by morning 68, and then a quick warm up back to 79 as we go into late morning. Clear skies, not too much is going on all day long, all evening long. We're going to continue with the clear skies throughout the overnight hours for us tonight. And if you look out toward the west, there's also not much going on. This is our weather as we go through the next few days, pretty much status quo compared to what we have seen all week long. All right, mid 60s to start. Let's go to the noon hour. I'm going to stop it at noon. Mid 80s. We'll go into the late afternoon. 90 in Nevada, 87 in Neosho, 90 in Miami. Look at Chanute up to about 92 degrees. Tomorrow night looks good. A few clouds, mid 60s once again. And then as we start off the weekend, again, upper 80s to lower 90s. Plenty of sunshine once we get into Saturday afternoon. So the next couple days very similar to what we have seen over the past couple days. Day planner 68 in the morning, 85 by noon, 89 by 4 p.m. So high temp 89, clear skies all day long. Let's jump ahead. Let's go into Friday night high school football. It's going to be a little bit warm, but for any fans, it's going to be fine. Kickoff about 83. 75 by the fourth quarter, and we're definitely going to stay on the dry side. So when are we going to start to see some changes? Well, right now we're in the part of the pattern. High pressure is in charge. If we go back, this part of the pattern was early August, and we had that triple-digit heat. So that's why we're so warm right now. High pressure lasts all the way through the beginning of next week, and then finally Tuesday into Wednesday. Look at this. Storm system pulls out. This is the beginning of our new pattern. It's going to last for the whole next year. So it's going to be a little bit of a wetter pattern. We're going to cool down with it. Obviously, we're still going to be warm over the next year, but this is the beginnings of changes as we head into next week. Until then, we stay mainly hot and dry. 89 tomorrow, 89 on Saturday. Let's go 90 on Sunday. Monday and Tuesday, pretty much the same. Chances for showers and thunderstorms roll in Wednesday and Thursday. Look at our highs next week, mid to upper 70s, so quite a bit cooler as we get into the second half of next week.
Well, coming up, federal funding that helped keep thousands of child care centers open during the pandemic is set to expire at the end of the month. Affordable childcare is about to get harder to find for millions of Americans. COVID-era emergency funding is set to expire Saturday, leaving childcare providers and ultimately parents in the lurch. Congress could step in, but will they? Fox News correspondent Madeline Rivera reports from Washington.
Working in childcare requires patience, passion, and perhaps above all, persistence when things get messy.
I do all the things. So I am in charge of food, I am in charge of shopping, I'm in charge of the administrative.
Corrine Hendrickson owns a daycare center in Wisconsin. While not easy, she made it through the past few years with the help of the American Rescue Plan in 2021, which included $24 billion in child care stabilization grants.
Every single month, I was receiving a check, partially for operational costs and partially for my wages. And then also, that's how I was able to hire 2 subs.
The COVID-era benefit is set to expire at the end of the month.
The cost for daycare has gone over $15,000 per child.
Without the aid, Hendrickson will have no choice but to raise costs for parents.
I'm very concerned that they're not going to be able to afford this, and I'm going to lose them, and I won't be able to replace them, and I will close, because I have to be able to take care of my family.
More than 70,000 child care programs could close, causing about 3.2 million children to lose child care, according to the Century Foundation, a liberal think tank. Democrats are pushing for an annual $16 billion in child care funding for 5 years.
Going over the child care cliff could cost parents $9 billion in earnings and cost our nation over $10 billion in economic activity.
The initiative faces an uphill challenge in a Republican-led House that's aiming to cut what they see as runaway spending. But a bipartisan group of lawmakers is looking to address the high cost of childcare.
We talk about making sure that parents have the freedom and the resources to have childcare options, affordable childcare options.
Hendrickson is hoping for a solution soon.
It is a disaster.
In order to stick it out. In Washington, Mather Rivera, Fox News.
Up next, Missouri Southern students learned about Gaelic games as part of the school's Irish semester. Some Missouri Southern students played Gaelic games out on the Oval. This fall, MSSU has chosen to highlight Ireland for its 2023 themed semester. The Recreation Services Department has found its own way to be involved through Irish games. Students had a chance to learn and play a Gaelic game called hurling. Most students hadn't heard of it before, but one student had been introduced to it when she was in Ireland.
We were on like a tour, and the guy we pulled over and he had a bunch of the hurling sticks, and we just got to play for a little, and it was really fun.
You know, students love to get involved with intramurals. It's a great way for them to get connected with each other, and this is just a really unique opportunity because we're doing that, but we're also kind of teaching them some history, some culture from those countries.
There are several other events planned at MSSU surrounding the Irish semester. Most of them are open to the community. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports is coming your way. Joplin first responders use a now vacant school building to train for possible emergencies. Plus, we'll look at possible solutions the Kansas Rural Justice Initiative Committee is exploring to help curb the Kansas attorney shortage. The Joplin Fire and Police Departments today conducted a training exercise to prepare responders for situations where they all need to come together, like an active threat event. 13 other area emergency services agencies also participated in the 3-day-long course. KOAM's Fernanda Silva has the story.
West Central Elementary in Joplin served as a training facility for more than 40 first responders as they participated in the Active Threat Integrated Response course hosted by Louisiana State University. The drill was as realistic as possible.
We'll be staged in an area, and they're going to start dispatching us as if an event occurred here today, and we'll have to respond to that as we would on the street, as we would normally.
We have all kinds of different role players, moulaged in various things, so there's Hollywood blood in there, the radios, the comms that they have to talk back and forth to each other, and then we have to get that integration.
Integration was the key word and the big emphasis of the course. The goal of having multiple agencies training together is to be ready and aligned in case of an active shooter event.
There's going to be a lot of chaos if something like this were to happen in our community, and the more we train together, the better we're working together, the more likely that chaos will go away quicker.
If there was an event to happen, whether it's Oronogo, Webb City, Carthage, Reddingsville, all who are represented here today, that we can easily, quickly, and familiarly integrate with one another and provide that support that we all need.
So far in 2023, the U.S. has experienced almost 520 mass shootings, according to the Gun Violence Archive.
So we're at more active shooter events than there are actually calendar days right now.
More than 50 school shootings have happened in the United States this year as of September 19th. This is why it is important for events like this to happen in facilities like West Central Elementary that is currently not being used by students.
Instead of simulating it or drawing it out on the concrete or in the gym floor, yeah, you physically got to move stairs. You physically got to go upstairs. Doors are locked. How do we get into locked doors?
The goal is to be over-prepared so we're underwhelmed. We hope that this never happens in our community or any of our surrounding communities, but we have to prepare ourselves so we can best protect our citizens.
In Joplin, Fernanda Silva, KOAM News.
Well, the training counted on MSSU and Crowder College volunteers who played the roles required for the training.
Letters and citations and all that we've got.
The Carl Junction School District hired 2 new leaders this week for its primary 2nd and 3rd grade building. Jake Stevenson is stepping in as the head principal with Austin Rhodes as assistant principal. And though their hiring process has been less traditional, both principals expressed excitement to get started in their roles. Part of this has to do with their obvious passion for the Carl Junction community. Well, folks at Pitt State today learned how to help birds migrate more safely. Crystal Anton is a bird advocate. She says thousands of birds die every year during migration, but there are ways to help, and one that she recommends is to limit light pollution at night to prevent migrating birds from becoming disoriented.
I think it's like 80% of birds migrate at night actually, and they use stars and light and the moon to sort of navigate their way. And so lighting can be very confusing to them, and they will hit tall buildings, or in the mornings they will land where it's more lit and then forage in areas that have a lot of glass or buildings that, you know, they shouldn't necessarily be around.
Anton was invited to campus for the monthly meeting of the university's Audubon Society. The state of Kansas faces a shrinking number of attorneys. The Sunflower State has just under 8,000 active practicing attorneys, and the vast majority of them live in metro areas. That means a bigger workload for rural attorneys, many who are getting close to retirement. It's a disturbing trend that recently forced the state Supreme Court to take a closer look. In part 2 of my special report, I dig deeper into the problem and potential solutions.
So I was that strange 3-year-old that turned to mom and dad and said, I'm going to be a lawyer.
A dream Angela Myers says she never gave up, nurtured by her middle school teacher and inspired by local judges.
Judge Nolan would always let me come watch court.
Meyer has been in the courtroom since she was a kid.
As a kid, thinking, well, this is what lawyers are like. Of course I want to do this, because they're helping people and they're so invested in what somebody says and how they represent their client and what that client wants to have happen.
Today, Angela Meyer practices family law in Pittsburgh, in the same county she grew up in.
And then he was in a Civil War veterans group.
She's also part of a bigger project, the Kansas Rural Justice Initiative Committee, focused on turning the tide on a statewide attorney shortage.
We definitely have a rural attorney crisis in Kansas where there's not enough of us. The statistics of lawyers to population ratio is higher than in metro areas.
It's a problem that's led to a heftier workload for attorneys like Meyer, and even overcrowding issues in some county jails.
Crawford County Sheriff Danny Smith says his jail broke a record last summer, housing 140 inmates in a facility designed with 108 beds. Sheriff Darren Eisinger says Labette County is still teetering at capacity with around 84 inmates. And while the Cherokee County Jail has room to spare, Sheriff David Grove says the time between check-in and check-out for inmates has slowed down.
When they're initially arrested, they're held here either until their trial or if they're allowed to post bond. So if they don't post bond, then they stay until their court case is adjudicated, which can be, we have the person that we've been holding the longest at this point has been here for 656 days.
We're going to talk about empowering women.
Kansas Supreme Court Chief Justice Marla Lukert signed an order creating the committee last December. She stopped in Pittsburgh earlier this month to talk about female leaders in the state. The Chief Justice grew up on the rural western Kansas border before attending law school at Washburn University. She says the price of a law degree is a big factor adding to the attorney shortage. Washburn has already partnered with Pitt State in a 3x3 program, allowing students to complete their bachelor's and law degree in 6 years. And Washburn law students can also join the school's Third Year Anywhere program.
You can finish your last year of law school anywhere, or you take your classes remotely. But it gives you a leg up in the practice of law because you're interning somewhere.
An internship that could lead future attorneys to Southeast Kansas who are ready to hit the ground running.
We're getting a Board of Indigent Defense Services offices at some point. My understanding, it's been funded. I think it's in the works. So Public Defender's Office. I think that's supposed to hopefully alleviate some of that need, is to be able to have attorneys that are hired full-time and that's all they do.
Having defense attorneys that are willing to be court-appointed defense attorneys is really important to move the process along, the criminal justice process along. And when we have a shortage like we are currently experiencing, it just delays that process even more.
Is there more than one solution to this, and how do we kind of make an all-inclusive plan that says if you don't like this piece, then you can like this piece, and either way we get attorneys in rural areas?
The latest challenge, meeting the legal needs rural Kansas deserves.
Well, details are still pending for the new public defender's office coming to Pittsburgh, and Meyer says it's just one of the legislative proposals the 35-member Rural Justice Initiative Committee plans to make reality before the group finishes in 2024. Well, a bit later, new technology for schools.
Could AI be your kid's next homeroom teacher? I'm Eben Brown in Miami. I'll have that story straight ahead.
Well, it turned out to be another warm/hot day for us today. We were mid to upper 80s for highs yesterday and again today. We went into the upper 80s, so very consistent the past few days. Yesterday 86, we dropped down into the mid 60s and then right back up into the upper 80s for highs for us today. This is what we're going to see tomorrow. This is what we're going to see into the weekend. We don't really have any big changes until about the middle of next week. All right, for you tonight, clear skies. We drop back to 67. Temperatures, you can see lower 70s by 11, by morning 68, and then a quick warm up back to 79 as we go into late morning. Clear skies, not too much is going on all day long, all evening long. We're going to continue with the clear skies throughout the overnight hours for us tonight. And if you look out toward the west, there's also not much going on. This is our weather as we go through the next few days, pretty much status quo compared to what we have seen all week long. All right, mid 60s to start. Let's go to the noon hour. I'm going to stop it at noon. Mid 80s, we'll go into the late afternoon, 90 in Nevada, 87 in Neosho, 90 in Miami. Look at Chanute up to about 92 degrees. Tomorrow night looks good. A few clouds, mid 60s once again, and then as we start off the weekend, again, upper 80s to lower 90s, plenty of sunshine once we get into Saturday afternoon. So the next couple days very similar to what we have seen over the past couple days. Day planner 68 in the morning, 85 by noon, 89 by 4 p.m. So high temp 89, clear skies all day long. Let's jump ahead. Let's go into Friday night high school football. It's going to be a little bit warm, but for any fans, it's going to be fine. Kickoff about 83, 75 by the fourth quarter, and we're definitely going to stay on the dry side. So when are we going to start to see some changes? Well, right now we're in the part of the pattern. High pressure is in charge. If we go back, this part of the pattern was early August, and we had that triple-digit heat. So that's why we're so warm right now. High pressure lasts all the way through the beginning of next week, and then finally Tuesday into Wednesday, look at this. Storm system pulls out, and this is the beginning of our new pattern, and it's going to last for the whole next year. So it's going to be a little bit of a wetter pattern. We're going to cool down with it. Obviously, we're still going to be warm over the next year, but this is the beginnings of changes as we head into next week. Until then, we stay mainly hot and dry. 89 tomorrow, 89 on Saturday. Let's go 90 on Sunday. Monday and Tuesday, pretty much the same. Chances for showers and thunderstorms roll in Wednesday and Thursday. Look at our highs next week, mid to upper 70s, so quite a bit cooler as we get into the second half of next week.
All right, thanks, Doug. Coming up in sports, Colgan football hosts Northeast, trying to stay perfect on the season. Plus, third-ranked Pitt State football says it's not overlooking its winless opponent this Saturday. John Dales has those stories and more up next.
Pitt State football is the number 3 team in the country, and much like every other squad, the Gorillas' focus week in and week out is solely on the team right in front of them. This Saturday, PSU faces 0-4 Northeastern State before going against the number 11 team in the country, undefeated Emporia State, next weekend. Nevertheless, the Gorillas' mindset is unchanged.
We have a 1-0 mindset, stay in the moment mindset here, and every start to every week, it's always about us. What do we have to do to get better? And that's where we started again this week, and then we start to really dial it in and focus on the opponent. And we've done the same thing this week. Our guys understand the 1-0 mentality and how that's worked to this point, so I don't see us changing this week.
Our motto has always been 1-0, and Northeastern's a hungry team looking for a win, like you said. And so I think it's just the best thing we can do is just stay positive and just focus on them, focus on their offense.
Miami softball won its regional semifinal yesterday against Dewey. In the double elimination tournament, that means today, all the War Dogs had to do was win one more game out of 2 in order to become regional champions. Miami hosting the Regional 15 tournament. They see Dewey again, win and move on, loss, and you stick around to play another. Starting the bottom of the first, Kyla Overton hits this one off the glove of the third baseman. That's an RBI single, and it puts Dewey up 1-0. Later in the inning, more offense. Addie Duggar gets a good piece of this one. It lands right between the outfielders, and that's going to be an RBI triple. The Bulldoggers lead 2-0. Dewey leads 7-0 entering the 6th inning. In the 6th, Brooklyn Powell gets just enough of that one to clear the fence 2-run homer. Miami comes away with 3 runs in the 6th, but ultimately not enough. In the 7th, Dewey leads 7-3. Powell, who hit that homer earlier, grounds out into a double play. That'll end the ball game. Still another one to play, but Dewey pulls off the upset as they beat Miami 7-3. So in game number 2, same team square off again, this time win or go home. Bottom of the first inning is where we start things out. Brooklyn Powell again, this time ripping one into left field. That's a 2-run single. Miami takes the 2-0 lead. Next batter, Hayden Davis goes opposite field. That one's gonna fall for a hit. War Dogs up 3-0 at this point. Now, pitching in this game, Faith Lemons, she gets just what Miami needed. Strikeout in the 2nd. Next batter, she handles a comebacker, throws on to first for the out. Then she ends the inning on a swing and a miss and gets fired up going back into the dugout. In the bottom of the 2nd, Lemons again, this time with the bat though. She hits a 2-run single to put Miami up 6-0. All Lady War Dogs at this point. Then Lemons closes out the game with a strikeout. Miami Lady War Dogs go on to win as their Regional 15 champions. They beat Dewey 13-1 in just 5 innings.
And for them to come back and make adjustments and really try to get downhill on balls and just be committed to who we've been all year. I mean, and tap back into our work ethic and our determination and really just everything we've built right back here. It's really impressive to see how determined and how resilient they are.
I would just like to say that we work great as a team and that a lot of us are really selfless. And in the prayer we say before, we always be like, Lord, I pray that you just keep us humble. And I feel that that really shows, especially when there's adversity.
Colgan football off to a perfect start in its season. The Panthers are 4-0. After winning a close one against Frontenac in week 1, they haven't played a competitive game since. Tonight is Colgan's senior night at home against Northeast. So senior night at Hutchinson Field. Vikings of Northeast enter the contest at 0-4. First play from scrimmage. Tucker Harrell goes deep down the sideline and Jack Schremer is there for a 40-yard pickup. They score to go up 7-0 later in the drive. Panthers get the ball back on the move again. Harrell calls his own number this time, weaves through defenders and takes it to the house. 14-0 Panthers. Colgan getting it done on defense too. Dawson Troth throws this one into traffic. Brady Batters gets the interception and has blockers in front of him. He's going to take that one to the end zone for a pick 6. 35-zip Colgan in the first quarter. Backups into the game by the time we get to the 2nd. Karsten Simmons rolls out. He finds Brock Riddell. Sophomore makes a move on 2 defenders and scores. 56-0 Colgan at that point. This one never in doubt. Colgan wins 76-0 on senior night. Heck of a win for them. They are an absolute wagon, Colgan football. Not a lot of teams at their level can even compete with them.
That's for sure. And congratulations to the Lady War Dogs.
Yeah, Miami's got a very good team. I was at the game yesterday where they won real close, and then they win big, obviously, today, too.
Yeah, I mean, it just, you have a bad game, you put it aside, and you come back and win big.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, back with more news after this. As artificial intelligence usage explodes nationwide, the question of whether it will eventually find its way into classrooms has been settled. Fox's Eben Brown has more.
As artificial intelligence becomes more common, the question is no longer if we will see it in the classroom, but rather how quickly it will be integrated. And as its use accelerates, ed tech companies are making significant new investments in AI, including Brainly, the most used education app in the world. They're unveiling a new suite of AI-powered features, including a program that uses artificial intelligence to solve math problems framed as word problems, and an AI tutor product that offers personalized learning support 24 hours a day.
The AI understands the context of the explanation that they're viewing, so they can dig in deeper to that explanation and start digging into the details, asking questions. Why is this? How does this work?
The company also offers traditional tutoring help from a human, but the AI component was added after their research showed a large number of students were seeking help, but not from a tutor.
They wanted that interaction, they wanted that help, but they didn't want the social pressure of interaction with another human being.
But bringing AI helpers to the classroom on a broader scale is expected to take time. Schools often lack the money for high-tech solutions, and the difficulty of getting new expenses approved means the technology is often out of date by the time it arrives.
It's a problem with funding, it's a problem with decision-making cycles. It's not unsolvable. We just need to be faster and better.
And a new study is showing that more than 60% of students are already using AI to help them with their homework. In Miami, Eben Brown, Fox News.
Well, coming up, we'll learn how a designer in London created ice cream out of recycled plastics. A designer based in London has created the world's first ice cream made from plastic. The flavoring in the frozen treat comes from combining the same kind of plastic used in plastic bottles with bacteria and enzymes that digest the plastic and then transform the leftovers into molecules that make the vanilla flavor. It's not for sale, but part of an art show in London called Guilty Flavors.
This project started from a very big frustration about how the plastic recycling system cannot keep up. Also that despite all the information around plastic production is not decreasing, it's actually increasing.
The plastic transformation process was developed by scientists in Scotland, but the ice cream has not yet gone through any regulatory testing to ensure it's safe for human consumption. And I do not want to be the first to try it. That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you with video of a baby porcupine at a zoo in England. Have a great night and an even better tomorrow.